My name is Callahan, and I'm 56 years old. I have a very troubled son who has done a lot. And this is the story of how I cut him off due to his antics. I had always prided myself on being a good single father. From the moment my son Merrick entered this world, I made a promise to myself that I would do everything in my power to provide for him and guide him toward a successful future. But sometimes life has a funny way of taking your best intentions and turning them upside down. Any good parent who has a troublesome kid will tell you that the guilt and shame they carry for not doing a good enough job will eat them alive. And for a very long time, I too felt those emotions. I blamed myself for how my son turned out, even though I gave him everything. But at some point, as an adult and as a human being, you get tired of coddling people who constantly spit on you, even if they're your child. Merrick was always a handful. As he grew older, he became more and more rebellious, prioritizing partying, drugs, alcohol over anything else. I tried my best to steer him in the right direction. I gave him job opportunities, and I was able and willing to pay for his college tuition. I tried my best to instill in him the values of hard work and responsibility. Yet no matter what I did, it seemed as though he was determined to follow his destructive path. Eventually, I made the difficult decision to cut Merrick out financially. It was a tough love approach, hoping that he would hit rock bottom and realize the need to turn his life around. Little did I know that decision would only drive a deeper wedge between us. I remember that night so vividly. Merrick stood in the living room, his eyes filled with resentment and anger, and the tension in the air was palpable as we faced off against each other. "So, this is what it's come to, huh? You're really going to cut me off, old man?" "Merrick, I've given you so many chances, so many opportunities to turn your life around, but you keep wasting them over and over again. I'm done. You're an adult. I can't keep coddling you." "Opportunities? What opportunities? All I see is you trying to control me, trying to mold me into your perfect little image. Well, newsflash, Dad. I'm my own person and I don't need your guidance." "It's not about control, Merrick. It's about wanting the best for you. I've watched you throw away your potential and squander every chance you've been given." "Oh, excuse me, Father of the Year. You think you're so high and mighty, don't you? You think you're better than me? You should worry about yourself. You're a single old man and you're going to die alone. You're just a washed up old man. Tell me who's going to take care of you when you're shriveled up and dying if you're kicking me out now." "Merrick, please. I've worked hard to provide for you, to give you a better life, but you need to take responsibility for your actions. I can't keep enabling you." "Enabling me? Is that what you think? Well, let me tell you something, old man. I don't need you. I'll find my way, without your so-called help." The argument reached its boiling point, and in a fit of rage, Merrick broke some vases and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. Left standing alone in the wake of the confrontation, I felt a profound sense of sadness and disappointment. When I first saw that baby's face, I never envisioned our relationship to be so chaotic and toxic, but I had to do what was right, even if it pained me deeply. Months went by and Merrick's life spiraled further out of control. I heard rumors of wild parties and reckless behavior. He seemed to be worse than before. He would host these outrageous events, and they were so crazy that his apartment complex, which was already notorious for being chaotic, burnt down. If I'm being honest, I even suspected he might have been involved in said fire. Of course, as a concerned parent, I had to make sure he was okay, but even when I was checking up on him, he seemed to be already on the hunt for the next social event, gathering, not worrying about his current predicament. Unbelievable. Not long after the fire at the apartment complex, Merrick showed up at my house unannounced and unexpectedly. He stood on my doorstep, a glimmer of desperation in his eyes, and asked if he could move back in with me. It was a stark contrast to the arrogant, cocky, and rebellious young man he was when I last saw him, and part of me truly believed that he had changed. As much as I wanted to believe in this apparent sincerity, I was very cautious. "Why should I let you back in here, after everything?" "Because I'm your son, and because you love me." "Yes, that's very true, but how will I know that you've actually changed? We can't keep going back and forth like this, son." "I'll prove it to you. I'll show you that I've changed, Dad. Look, I know the last time we spoke, things were said, and it wasn't a very loving conversation. But that fire at the apartment really showed me that life is too short to be wasting it on the crap that I was doing. I want to turn a new leaf and restart my life, and I hope it's not too late to rebuild this relationship." I softened at his words. He looked dejected, but he also had a look of determination. He really did appear to want to turn his life around. Or so I thought. You see, even after letting him back into the house, of course I let him back in, it didn't even take a week for him to revert to his old ways. That little sob story he gave me at my doorstep was all a facade. Merrick was doing drugs, being rowdy and chaotic as well as being a lazy slob. He wouldn't pick up after himself or even look at the job listings I sent to him, claiming that he had a better idea for making money and that he and his bros were going to start a business together. A week had gone by and tension simmered steadily in the air, leading to an argument that erupted between us. I had reached a breaking point, ready to kick Merrick out of my house once and for all. But something shocking happened instead. "Merrick, what did I say? Can you get off the video games for 1 second and listen to me? I told you that you need to do chores in this house if you're going to continue to stay here. It's been 3 days and the dishes are piling up. I told you to mow the lawn, and you still haven't got back to me about the job listings I gave you." "Oh my God, do you ever stop? You're always nagging me. I told you that I'd handle all of that. Just chill." "I can't do this anymore. You're bringing chaos into my home. It's time for you to leave and take responsibility for your own life now." "Oh yeah? And where am I supposed to go? You think I have any other options?" "Merrick, this is your mess to clean up. I've tried to help you, but you keep repeating the same destructive patterns. It's time for you to grow up." Well, I can't leave, Dad." "Why ever not, Merrick?" Because I'm getting married." This news shook me to the core. For a second, time itself had stopped, and I even felt a bit lightheaded. Trying to get my bearings and overcome with rage, I asked, "What the hell did you just say to me?" "I'm getting married, Dad, and I need a place to stay. I can't have my girl living in a dopey old apartment or a trailer park. It needs to be a house." "Oh, and are you intending that she stays here?" "Well, yeah." "No." "What?" "You heard me. I said no. How long have you ever known this girl?" 2, maybe 3 months. "And you want to get married? I'm sorry, but it's off." "We can't cancel the wedding, Dad. It's happening in 2 days." "What? Have you lost your mind, boy?" "What do you mean? I'm in love with her." "Merrick, this is madness. You barely know this girl. Getting married is a serious commitment. Are you sure about this?" "I know what I'm doing, Dad. Everly is amazing, and we're meant to be together." "You're getting out of this house. And once you get your act together, I want to meet this girl that you're supposedly getting married to." "Well, I'm glad that you've said that because she's actually outside." "What?" "Yep, she's pulling up right now." I swear, with all of the crap that went on that day, I was about to get a heart attack. Merrick went to the front door and invited in his fiancée. "Okay, Everly, so this is the house. Welcome. I'd like to introduce you to... Who the hell is that? As if I hadn't endured enough rudeness in my life, this spoiled brat wanted to come into my home and treat me this way? I was ready to catch a case. Oh, I don't know who that is. Just ignore him. Excuse me, Merrick? Must be the gardener. But why is he wandering around in the house? Shouldn't he be outside or something? You know what? You're right. Yo, gardener, get out of the house. And do your job now. I know you're not talking to me that way, boy. I would smack you upside the head. Ugh, how rude. You let the help speak to you this way, Mary? No, babe. No, I don't. Gardener, whoever you are, get the hell out of my house. You're fired. Your house? Yes, my house. A punk like you couldn't be able to afford this place. Get the hell out before I call the cops. To say I was grief-stricken would be an understatement. At that moment, I questioned the Lord and asked why my life had turned out like this. I was perplexed. I was hurt. I was furious. But most of all, I was just completely and utterly sad. I felt like there was nothing left I could do. This man, my son, my flesh and blood, denied knowing me to impress his bimbo fiancée and lied about owning this house just to impress her. I was completely at a loss for words. What are you doing just standing there? You heard him. Get out. I sent looks that could kill a man to both this Everly girl and my son. Both of them appeared to be fearful, even if only for a second. I was too angry to even reveal the truth. I knew that karma would get him soon enough, but as a father, I had to try at least one more time. I'm not going to embarrass you in front of your fiancé, but I'm going to give you the chance to be a real man and own up to your crap. If you don't, I'm walking out of the door and you will never be in my life again. A quick flash of fear crossed over Merrick's face, and Everly was looking confused as ever. Merrick said, I don't know you. Get out of my house. And with that, my heart had finally been broken, shattered into a million pieces. Even though I was hurting, I maintained my composure. I got a duffel bag of my most essential effects, and I headed out of the door without another word. I got into my car and drove away. A week had passed and I was in a new house. It was a bit difficult having to rent out a new place, buy a new wardrobe and other things I had to leave behind. But if I'm being honest, I preferred it to going back to that place. Although that was my house, I was so overcome with grief and anger that I couldn't even look at my son in the face. I had cut off all communications with Merrick despite his various calls and texts. His text said that he didn't really mean the things he said that day. He kicked me out of my house and that he was just trying to impress his fiancée, but he had a plan to help me get back. I scoffed at his words and continued to ignore them, focusing on rebuilding myself after enduring so much BS from him in the past. If he wanted to live that type of life, I wanted no part in that. You must be wondering about the wedding. Well, I didn't attend it. Merrick sent out the invitation, but again, I ignored it. I hated to admit it, but it was like he was dead to me. How could I go and support this guy after everything? I was focusing on rebuilding myself. I had to live my life the way that I wanted instead of trying to raise an adult. I was done doing all of that, and I planned on living out the rest of my days enjoying the wealth that I had accrued for myself, with no one to look after. I would only be living for myself, and this new lifestyle was already feeling pretty good. In a way, I was somewhat grateful for the embarrassing and heartbreaking debacle that happened a week prior, as it allowed me to truly open my eyes to Merrick's true colors. He was never going to change, and I simply had to accept that. It wasn't fair on me to continue to cater to a man who didn't want to own up to his own wrongdoings. I was just glad that I gave him one final chance to come clean about everything and to be a responsible young man, and he, just like with every other opportunity, squandered it. I was done with him. I know it sounds awful to say, but honestly, I didn't care. He had exhausted me, and I was determined to enjoy my life instead of worrying about him anymore. He made his bed, and now he had to lay in it. Well, folks, this is proof of me properly and finally cutting this guy off because of what happened soon after. 2 weeks had gone by, and I was enjoying this newfound freedom. That was until the doorbell went off, and it was none other than Merrick at my front door. Oh, thank God I found you. I was running out of options. How did you find me? Come on, old man. Is that any way to greet your son? Son? Yes, I'm your son. That's funny. I don't remember having a son. Come on, Dad. Don't be like that. I'm sorry that I said that, but I don't remember having a son, just a leech that I had to take care of. Wow, that cuts deep, Dad. Now stop playing and let me inside. No, I don't know you. Stop playing, Dad. I get it. I've learnt my lesson and now I need your help. No, I don't think so. I'm not helping you. I'm done, Merrick. I have nothing left to give you. Dad, you wouldn't deny helping your son, would you? As I said, you're not my son. Cut the crap, Dad. I'm struggling. Everly is crazy. She's a lazy slob and she's reckless. I didn't know anyone who could party harder than I could until I met her, and honestly, she's a lot to handle. We're arguing every day and the house is a complete mess because she doesn't clean. She doesn't cook. She doesn't do anything. Wow, I don't care. Now get off of my property. What? Dad, are you being serious? Yep, and don't call me that. What do you need me to do? Tell me and I'll do it. I'll get a job. I'll clean up. I'll get an annulment. I'll do anything. Just tell me. You'll do anything? Anything you want me to do. Okay, I want you to leave me alone forever. And I mean it, Merrick. I don't ever want to hear from you again. Merrick was crestfallen, trying to rack his brain for more excuses and more empty promises, but I wasn't having any of it. I gave you a chance. I gave you hundreds of chances, maybe even thousands. And each and every time you wasted them, you stopped being my son the second you kicked me out of my house. I mean, who even does that? I told you that I did that just to impress her. Geez, I didn't think you'd take it so seriously. Yeah, well, I did. And as such, I don't know you. Dad! Yeah, you're lucky I'm leaving you the house. I could take it away from you, but I don't need you trying to crawl back to me and ask for a handout again. Please, take the house and do whatever you want. What you do with your life is no longer my concern. Wow, I can't believe this. You know what? I don't need you. Screw you, Dad. In true Merrick fashion, he stomped off angrily to wherever it is that he went. But this time, instead of being stricken with pain and grief, I felt relief wash over me. I finally felt like I was getting rid of this burden that had been holding me down for a long time. As I look back on the events that unfolded between Merrick and me, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and sadness. Cutting off my son was a decision I never thought I would have to make, but it was necessary for my well-being and sanity. After severing all ties with Merrick, I made a conscious effort to move on to bigger and better things in life. I decided to embark on a journey of self-discovery, exploring new places and indulging in experiences that I had long postponed. Traveling became my therapy, allowing me to heal from the wounds inflicted by the turbulent relationship with my son. As I ventured into the world, I embraced the freedom that came with cutting off Merrick. No longer burdened by his constant demands for financial assistance and guidance, I finally had the opportunity to enjoy the hard-earned money I had accumulated over the years. It was liberating to live a stress-free life, free from the chaos and unpredictability that had characterized our interactions. In the beginning, Merrick bombarded me with messages seeking advice on practical matters like taxes and bill payments, things that he never cared to learn despite my best efforts to teach him. It was clear that he had become reliant on me to handle all of his responsibilities. However, I realized that it was time for him to learn to navigate life on his own. I changed my phone number and severed all contact with him, ensuring that he couldn't contact me anymore, recognizing that my continuous involvement would only enable his reckless behavior. I know that people may judge me for cutting off my only child, but they don't understand the years of frustration, disappointment, and heartache that led me to make this decision. I did my best as a father, providing guidance and support even when it seemed futile. But there comes a point when one must prioritize their own well-being, and I had reached that point. As for Merrick, I do not know his current whereabouts or his well-being. Even though I have chosen to no longer be a part of his life, I truly wish him all the best, and I hope that he has found a path towards personal growth and maturity. Perhaps the absence of my constant presence in his life will force him to confront his demons and make positive changes. Deep down, I still carry a flicker of hope that he will find his way. In the end, I chose to focus on my journey and the joy that comes with living a stress-free life. I have learned to forgive myself for the choices I had to make and to embrace the newfound freedom that accompanies them. Life is too short to dwell on past regrets and to carry the weight of a strained relationship. I have moved on, and I am determined to make the most of the precious time I have left. So, as I continue to travel and relish in the joys that life has to offer, I raise a silent toast to Merrick, hoping that he too finds his path to happiness and fulfillment.